A Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot. About the author. James Herriot. James Herriot was the pen name of James Alfred White, a British veterinary surgeon and writer, born in 1916. He spent most of his life working as a country veterinarian in Yorkshire, England, treating all kinds of animals, from tiny pets to large farm animals. Herriot did not begin writing seriously until his 40s, when he started turning his real experiences as a vet into warm, humorous, and emotional stories. His books, such as All Creatures Great and Small, became internationally famous for their gentle storytelling, vivid description of countryside life, and deep affection for animals. Herriot's writing style is simple, natural, and filled with kindness, compassion, and quiet humor, which makes his stories enjoyable for readers of all ages. A Triumph of Surgery is one such story where Herriot shares a real-life episode of dealing with a pampered dog and its anxious owner, showing his practical wisdom, patience, and deep understanding of animal care. His stories remind us that love for animals also requires responsibility, discipline, and proper treatment, not just affection. Background of the lesson. This story shows what happens when too much love becomes harmful, especially when pet owners overfeed or overpamper their animals. Tricky, a small dog, becomes dangerously ill because his owner, Mrs. Pumphrey, cannot refuse him rich, fatty food. The chapter highlights the importance of a proper diet, exercise, and discipline in keeping pets healthy. It also shows how a veterinarian like Herriot uses simple methods, not surgery, to bring a pet back to perfect health. The title The Triumph of Surgery refers to the successful recovery of Tricky, even though no real surgical operation is done. Herriot meets Tricky. The story begins with the narrator, Mr. James Herriot, noticing Tricky on the street with his owner, Mrs. Pumphrey. Herriot is shocked at Tricky's condition. The little dog is hugely fat. Looks like a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. And his eyes are red and watery. Mrs. Pumphrey immediately explains that Tricky looks weak, so she has been giving him extra food, malt, cod liver oil, and even Horlicks at night. She also confesses that she gives him cream cakes and chocolates, because she cannot refuse him. Herriot understands the real issue. Tricky is not sick, he is simply overfed and pampered. Herriot warns Mrs. Pumphrey. Herriot firmly tells Mrs. Pumphrey that Tricky needs a strict diet and more exercise. He warns her that Tricky will become seriously ill if she doesn't control his food. Mrs. Pumphrey becomes emotional and says it is very difficult to refuse Tricky anything. As Herriot watches them walk away, he notices Tricky is tottering, meaning he can barely walk. He wears a tweed coat, and Mrs. Pumphrey has a whole wardrobe of coats for him. Herriot knows he will soon receive a call because Tricky's condition is bound to get worse. Tricky falls seriously ill. Within a few days, Herriot receives the expected call. Mrs. Pumphrey is distraught and extremely worried. She says Tricky has stopped eating completely, not even his favorite food. Tricky also has vomiting spells and lies on a rug all day, panting and refusing to move. Herriot immediately realizes the dog must be removed from this environment to recover. He suggests hospitalizing Tricky for 2 weeks so he can be properly observed and treated. Mrs. Pumphrey almost faints at the idea. She fears Tricky will pine and die without her. But Herriot insists, because Tricky's condition is now dangerously serious. Tricky is taken to the surgery. Herriot takes Tricky to his car while Mrs. Pumphrey cries loudly and follows him helplessly. The entire household is thrown into action. Maids rush in with Tricky's day bed, night bed, cushions, toys, rubber rings, and multiple bowls. Herriot realizes none of this can fit in his car, so he begins to drive away. As the car moves, Mrs. Pumphrey throws an armful of Tricky's coats through the window. Herriot looks in the mirror and sees everyone in tears, showing how deeply they adore Tricky. Tricky sits beside Herriot, gasping weakly, and Herriot gently pats him, saying he thinks he knows a cure for him. Tricky arrives at the surgery. At the surgery, the other dogs run toward Herriot, barking and excited. Tricky looks down at the noisy dogs with dull, lifeless eyes. When Herriot places him on the carpet, Tricky lies motionless, showing how weak he has become. The other dogs sniff him for a few seconds and then ignore him, because he is not energetic enough to interest them. Herriot prepares a warm loose box, a comfortable shelter, for Tricky to stay in. For the first 2 days, Herriot gives him no food, only plenty of water. This is the start of Tricky's strict treatment. Tricky shows first signs of recovery. After 2 days, Tricky begins to show interest in his surroundings. On the 3rd day, he gives a small sign of improvement. He whimpers when he hears the other dogs playing outside. When Herriot opens the door, Tricky trots out and is immediately greeted by Joe, the greyhound, and other dogs who roll him over playfully. Tricky follows them into the garden, even though he still rolls a little due to extra fat. This marks the beginning of Tricky's real recovery, fresh air, movement, and socializing with other dogs. Feeding time at the surgery. Herriot watches Tricky during the dog's feeding time. Tristan, one of the helpers, slops the food into the bowls, and all the dogs rush forward to eat quickly. Every dog knows that if he eats slowly, another dog might grab the rest of his meal. Tricky walks around the bowls, licking the leftovers inside them. The next day, Herriot puts out an extra bowl especially for Tricky. Tricky surprises everyone by jostling and pushing his way forward to reach the food. A clear sign he is getting stronger and more confident. Tricky becomes one of the pack. From this moment, Tricky's progress becomes rapid and remarkable. He receives no medicine at all, only exercise, fresh air, and the company of other dogs. Tricky spends the entire day running around with the group. He joins their friendly scrimmages, rolling, tumbling, getting trampled, and enjoying it. He becomes a fully accepted member of the gang, even though he is a small, silky dog among the big, shaggy ones. Tricky becomes energetic enough to fight for his share of food like a tiger, and even hunt rats in the old henhouse at night. Herriot notes that Tricky has never been happier or healthier in his life. Mrs. Pumphrey's constant worry. While Tricky is recovering beautifully, Mrs. Pumphrey remains extremely anxious. She calls the surgery dozens of times a day, asking for updates. Herriot avoids her questions about whether Tricky's cushions were being turned, or whether he is wearing the correct coat for the weather. However, Herriot confidently tells her that Tricky is out of danger and recovering fast. The word convalescing, recovering from illness, gives Mrs. Pumphrey great hope. Out of love, she begins sending items to build up Tricky's strength. Fresh eggs, 2 dozen at a time. Later bottles of wine. And eventually brandy. Herriot and his team enjoy these items themselves, turning each day into a small celebration. Tricky's life at the surgery. Tricky's days at the surgery become joyful and full of energy. Each morning begins with the extra eggs Mrs. Pumphrey sends. Lunch becomes a grand occasion because of the wine bottle she sends to build up Tricky's blood. Herriot and his partners enjoy 2 glasses of wine before lunch, and several more during the meal. When Mrs. Pumphrey sends brandy to improve Tricky's constitution, the team savors it in the evenings. Herriot admits these were days of deep content. Eggs in the morning, wine at noon, brandy at night. All the while, Tricky continues improving without a single medicine. Tricky is fully recovered. Tricky becomes a completely transformed dog. Live, hard-muscled, and energetic. After 2 weeks, Herriot decides it is time to inform Mrs. Pumphrey. He phones her and says Tricky has fully recovered and is ready to go home. Within minutes, a luxurious black car arrives at the surgery. Mrs. Pumphrey sits inside, worried and eager, her hands clasped and her lips trembling. She anxiously asks Herriot, "Is he really better?" Herriot reassures her that Tricky is perfectly fine and offers to bring him out. The triumph of surgery. Herriot goes to the garden to fetch Tricky. He finds Tricky running happily with the other dogs, jumping, chasing, and full of life. Tricky's transformation amazes Herriot. He now keeps pace with the pack, stretches out in great leaps, and his chest almost touches the ground as he runs. When Herriot carries Tricky to the car, the dog sees Mrs. Pumphrey and leaps into her lap with joy. He licks her face and barks excitedly, proving he is completely healthy again. Herriot and the chauffeur load all the unused items, beds, cushions, coats, toys, into the car. As the car drives away, Mrs. Pumphrey leans out of the window, tears shining in her eyes, and says, "Oh, Mr. Herriot, this is a triumph of surgery." Though Herriot never performed any actual surgery, Tricky's full recovery makes the treatment feel like a true triumph. Character sketches. A triumph of surgery. Character sketch, Dr. James Herriot. Dr. James Herriot is a kind, calm, and highly experienced veterinary surgeon. He immediately recognizes that Tricky is not sick but overfed and pampered, describing him as a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. Herriot shows great practical wisdom. Instead of medicines or surgery, he uses simple treatment: no food for 2 days, fresh air, water, and exercise. He is firm but compassionate, insisting on hospitalizing Tricky even when Mrs. Pumphrey cries and fears he will pine and die. At the surgery, Herriot treats Tricky gently, giving him care, freedom, and company, helping him recover naturally. His sense of humor appears when he enjoys the eggs, wine, and brandy that Mrs. Pumphrey sends for Tricky. Tricky's complete transformation proves Herriot's skill, patience, and deep understanding of animals. Mrs. Pumphrey's final line, "This is a triumph of surgery," shows the success of Herriot's sensible and compassionate approach. Character sketch, Mrs. Pumphrey. Mrs. Pumphrey is a rich, loving, but overly emotional and overindulgent pet owner. She treats Tricky like a fragile child, feeding him cream cakes, chocolates, malt, cod liver oil, and Horlicks, thinking he is weak. Her affection is sincere but uncontrolled, which actually harms Tricky's health. She is extremely sentimental. She almost faints when Herriot suggests hospitalization and cries loudly when Tricky is taken away. Her actions are generous but impractical. She sends beds, cushions, coats, toys, eggs, wine, and brandy, believing these will build up Tricky's strength. She constantly calls the surgery, showing her deep anxiety and emotional dependence on Tricky. When Tricky leaps into her lap, she is overwhelmed with joy, proving her genuine love despite her mistakes. Her tearful line, "This is a triumph of surgery," highlights her relief and gratitude, and also the extent of her emotional nature. Character sketch, Tricky. Tricky is a small, pampered dog who becomes dangerously ill because of overfeeding and lack of exercise. At the start, he is described as hugely fat, with red eyes, no energy, and a tendency to never refuse food, showing his greedy but innocent nature. Tricky becomes weak, listless, and sick, lying on a rug and refusing even his favorite dishes. However, Tricky has a naturally friendly and playful personality, which comes out once he is in the right environment. At the surgery, he slowly starts responding, whimpering to join the other dogs, trotting after them, and taking part in scrimmages. He becomes energetic, strong, and lively, even fighting for his food like a tiger and hunting rats, a sign of complete recovery. Tricky's transformation shows that he always had the potential to be healthy. He only needed proper care, exercise, and routine. He represents how too much love without discipline can harm, and how simple living can restore health. Most important themes. A triumph of surgery. Theme 1. Overpampering and its harmful effects. The story highlights how excessive affection without discipline can harm those we love. Explanation. Mrs. Pumphrey showers Tricky with too much love in the form of rich, fatty food, thinking she is caring for him. She feeds him cream cakes, chocolates, malt, cod liver oil, and Horlicks because she cannot refuse him. She even interprets his listlessness as malnutrition, not realizing she is the cause of his condition. Examples from the lesson. Tricky's appearance, a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. Tricky refuses to eat, vomits, and becomes dangerously ill. Mrs. Pumphrey almost faints when Herriot suggests hospitalization, showing her emotional dependence. Theme message: love must be balanced with wisdom. Otherwise, it becomes harmful rather than helpful. Theme 2. Importance of discipline, exercise, and simple living. Good health does not come from luxury, it comes from discipline, proper routine, and natural activity. Explanation. Tricky becomes sick because of a lack of exercise and an unbalanced diet. At the surgery, he receives no medication, no special treatment, and no luxury items. He simply plays with other dogs, eats normal food, drinks water, and enjoys fresh air. Examples from the lesson. Herriot gives Tricky no food for 2 days, only water. Tricky begins improving as he joins other dogs and participates in friendly fights or scrimmages. Tricky fights for his food like a tiger, showing his regained strength. Theme message. A simple lifestyle with regular exercise is more effective than luxury or pampering. This is what cures Tricky. Theme 3. Common sense versus emotional excess. Practical wisdom can solve problems that emotional overreaction only worsens. Explanation. Mrs. Pumphrey loves Tricky deeply but lacks common sense. Her emotions lead her to spoil him, while Herriot uses calm, rational decisions to save him. The contrast between the two shows how emotional excess can cloud judgment, while common sense leads to effective solutions. Examples from the lesson. Mrs. Pumphrey cries loudly and sends unnecessary beds, cushions, toys, and coats. Herriot ignores all the luxury items and focuses on real treatment, diet control, and exercise. Tricky's recovery is entirely due to Herriot's practical approach. Theme message. Clear thinking and practical action are far more helpful than emotional overreaction. Theme 4. True care means doing what is necessary, not what feels good. Genuine care sometimes requires making tough decisions. Explanation. Herriot's decision to take Tricky away is emotionally painful for Mrs. Pumphrey but necessary for the dog's survival. Real care involves doing what is actual medicine, not what is comfortable. Examples from the lesson. Herriot insists on hospitalization despite Mrs. Pumphrey's cries and fears. Tricky becomes healthy only after being removed from his unhealthy environment. Herriot resists the temptation to indulge Tricky with treats or unnecessary comforts. Theme message. Real care requires strength, firmness, and responsibility, not just affection. Theme 5. Illusions of luxury versus real health and happiness. Luxury doesn't guarantee happiness, in fact, it may weaken and spoil. Explanation. Tricky has everything a pampered pet could have: coats for every weather, beds, cushions, rich food, but he is miserable and sick. At the surgery, without any luxury, he becomes the happiest and healthiest version of himself. Examples from the lesson. Tricky's wardrobe of coats, raincoats, tweed coats, and multiple beds. All these luxury items remain unused at the surgery. Tricky enjoys rolling, running, fighting, eating normally, and even hunting rats, simple, natural joys. Theme message: true happiness comes from health, activity, and simplicity, not luxury. Theme 6. Triumph through natural healing, not medical intervention. Sometimes, nature and lifestyle correction are more powerful than medicine. Explanation: the title's A Triumph of Surgery is ironic because no surgery or medicine is used. The triumph is of good sense, simple living, and natural healing. Examples from the lesson: Tricky receives no medicinal treatment of any kind. His improvement begins only through movement, fresh air, and social interaction. Mrs. Pumphrey believes it was a miracle, calling it a triumph of surgery, though it is really a triumph of lifestyle change. Theme message: nature can heal when we remove harmful habits and restore balance. Why the title is A Triumph of Surgery. The title sounds like a major medical operation was performed on Tricky, but in reality, no surgery at all takes place in the story. The word surgery here refers not to an operation, but to the place where Dr. Herriot works, his veterinary clinic. Tricky's recovery is so sudden, complete, and unbelievable that to Mrs. Pumphrey, it feels like some kind of miracle has happened. When she sees Tricky transformed from a weak, lifeless dog into a fit, energetic, hard-muscled animal, she cannot believe her eyes. Overwhelmed with gratitude, she calls the entire recovery a triumph of surgery, even though Herriot used only simple methods, strict diet, exercise, water, and healthy company with other dogs. The triumph in the title actually refers to the success of Herriot's practical, sensible treatment, not to any medical procedure. The title is therefore ironic, because the miracle happened through common sense, not through real surgery. Moral of the story: the story teaches that too much love can be harmful if it is not balanced with responsibility. Real care means doing what is necessary for health, not what feels emotionally comforting. Proper diet, exercise, and routine are more important than pampering and luxury. True affection must include discipline and practicality, otherwise it causes suffering. Message of the lesson: the lesson shows that overindulgence leads to weakness, while simple living leads to strength and happiness. Herriot's practical, sensible treatment highlights the value of common sense over emotional excess. Animals, like humans, remain healthy when their basic needs are met: fresh air, movement, balanced food, and companionship. The story encourages us to care for our loved ones with wisdom, balance, and responsibility. A Triumph of Surgery is not about an operation, but about the success of simple, disciplined care. Tricky's dramatic recovery shows that health improves when harmful habits are removed. Mrs. Pumphrey's blind affection made Tricky sick, but Herriot's practical approach saved him. The chapter ends with Mrs. Pumphrey joyfully declaring it a triumph of surgery, proving how amazed she is by Tricky's transformation. The story reminds us that genuine care comes from wise decisions, not from over-pampering. Thank you for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, do like and share the video. Subscribe for more Class 10 English lessons explained in a simple and clear way. Keep learning, stay consistent, and all the best.